Okay, Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Share today is called Understanding Trauma at Its Core. I just learned this just last week, the end of last week, and it's you'll see for yourself. Okay, so Tanya says towards the end of Perek Zion that when we do an Avera, the experience he describes it as is the nefesh kind of it goes into an eretz eif of Tzia, like a land of a barren land. Eretz Tzia liyoiski alein of ha'is and nafshe Tzia v'tzam a barren dry land and the shadow of death. He is Sitra Achra, which is completely the opposite of Hashem and away from Hashem. And it's from there that the nefesh develops kind of a thirst to want to come back to the Ribono Shel Olam. So let's keep that in mind. We're going to go in a whole different direction. So I heard from Jordan Peterson a few years ago, and everyone will appreciate what I'll say now, I think, is that he's dealt with, thousands of people, and he said that there are people who've been through things that you couldn't imagine. Not only couldn't you imagine them, you wouldn't want to imagine them, yeah? And they've come out the end of these crazy experiences, productive, healthy, functioning, contributing members of society who add value to the world. He said he's also dealt with lots of people who've gone through things that if you heard what they went through, you'd have to hold yourself back from laughing. And 50, 60 years on, they're a complete mess. So he didn't say much more than that, but everyone appreciates that, Shamiri. Everyone appreciates that to be true. Yes, I've always wondered, like, what's the difference? Why is it that some people can go through insane things, and not that it's easy, but they get through it, and other people go through relatively simple things, and it destroys their life. So I got the answer last week actually, Shalom Ben, and it's Pasha MS. It stems with everything that I've known. Not that makes it MS, but it goes with everything that I've understood before, and it makes the most amazing amount of sense. I think everyone will appreciate it as well. As is always, what is true and what is truly true is nearly always extremely simple and immediately applicable, and you don't need to ask, where did you hear that from? Because your neshama knows that it's true. So I bumped into this video on YouTube Shorts of all places. Maybe that was the whole reason why YouTube Shorts ever got created. And there was this woman talking to this psychologist who seemed to be an extremely wise person. And she told him she must have been in her late 50s, early 60s. And she told him of a trauma that she went through when she was fourth grade, which I think is like 9 years old or something, yeah, where she was in a camp, and she woke up with whatever it was. It was an abuse kind of trauma of a whatever it was, and she had been abused in whatever way, and she was sitting there 50 years on. She was speaking like it had happened yesterday, and her whole life was kind of held hostage to this event that happened when she was 9, 10. And so this wise psychologist said to her, so tell me, what would you understand if this happened to your daughter? Oh, sorry, he said, what did you do after this happened? So he said, did you tell your parents? She said no. So he said, what would you understand if this happened to your daughter and she didn't come to you and tell you about it? And the woman immediately said, I would feel like terrible. I'd feel like, and he said, no. I didn't ask what you would feel. I asked, what would you understand? So she said, I would understand that my daughter couldn't come and speak to me about this. And he said, that's the trauma. That's the trauma. The trauma was your aloneness before the event. The event isn't the trauma, Bichlal. So I've been, as I heard this, my like everything inside me like kind of reshuffled, and then a beautiful moshel came into my mind. It's like the aloneness is like setting up a projector screen. You know, the big white projector screens. Yeah, so the aloneness is like that big white projector screen. If a child or anyone, but let's talk about a child, if a child feels alone, yeah, then what's happening inside them in the moshel is that this massive, pardon me, depending on the level of the aloneness, a large projector screen is being set up. Now, that will impact lots of different things there in life, but we're not going to go there. But what that means is that when a traumatic event happens, the picture will be cast on the screen. And then the person will think that the picture's the trauma. And they can go through their whole life being traumatized by the image. When the image isn't the trauma, the trauma's the projector, the screen. If the screen wasn't there, that event would have just, it would not that it would have been pleasant, not that it would have been acceptable, but it would have just gone off into the forest, and it wouldn't stick around like a bad tummy ache or something like that. But because that projector screen of aloneness, which is, you can translate aloneness into Hebrew as klipa. Yeah, the klipa is the feeling of being alone. That's the concept of, you could, klipa is isolation, fragmentation, separation, period. Yeah, that's what klipa is. It's the opposite of Hashem. Hashem is achdus. Hashem echad. Yeah, klipa is riboy. Yeah, it's a reshus rabim. That's the Indian of isolation and fragmentation and separation. So when a child feels alone, yeah, what we're actually doing in the child is we're kind of erecting this screen that will be, which will be the place, so to speak, where anything that happens could potentially stick on that screen. And the tragedy is that you think you're dealing with the image on the screen, and you could be sitting there trying to rearrange the pixels and understand the projector and all this stuff, when you're forgetting that really the whole bayah is the screen. And if the screen wasn't there, there would be no image to disturb you. It was absolutely mind-blowing. So what is it that makes a child feel alone? What makes a child feel alone is when the parent is trying to get something from the child. Our relationship with our children should be nothing other than how can I help? What can I do for you? The more the relationship becomes, what can I get from you? And that could be very subtle. That could be nachas. That could be however subtle that could be. Yeah, that could be extreme. Even your success, but not for you, for me. I want you to be successful. That's already wanting something from your child. That's called ach la'ach. That's called a back-to-back relationship. A face-to-face relationship is when we're in it for each other. Yeah. A back-to-back relationship, as we always say, is like the cab driver relationship, where you want to get taken to X place and he wants your money. Either one of you could be substituted out. He's not important, you're not important. So that means that you become isolated from him. So I've always been teaching over the years, and this is true, the way I understand it, is that a back-to-back relationship engenders distance and rebellion. And that's, I think, probably one of the biggest reasons why kids choose a different path to their parents, because they weren't treated in a front-to-front way. So the natural response to a back-to-back relationship is more distance and separation and rebellion. But understanding this moshel of the screen, it's even more than that. Not only will a back-to-back relationship with your child cause your child to rebel against you, yeah, it will also set up this projector screen in the child's inner world that will cause all kinds of events that should be forgotten about, that have no place to stick around. It will give them a kiyum, and that's what we just said. The klipa is an eretz tzivat salmavis. It's a barren land. The concept of a barren land. You have these images of I don't know where, but in America you have those like massive places with like all the cracks in the floor. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. That's a barren land. A barren land where there's no water leads to fragmentation and separation. And and that's the experience of klipa. The inner experience of klipa is a klipa of isolation and separation. And that is what we have to, the way I understand it, that's the ikka gift we have to give to our children. The ikka gift we have to give to our children is that them knowing that we are with them, that they are not alone. And however way you do that, like at the end, my Rav does that at the end of emails when I tell him, he always writes at the end of the email, you know, let me know how it goes, keep me posted, or you know, I'm here for you, or you know, those kinds of statements, obviously with the meaning behind them, yeah, that will help a child feel that they're not alone, and that is the foundation of the whole child's life. So I didn't realize the odds were as high as I thought. I thought that treating a child in a back-to-back way would lead to rebellion and whatever, but I didn't realize until this that that's actually the foundation of the child's entire effect, a healthy psyche. It's all based on so all of the traumas that we're dealing with, yeah, they're not actually the trauma. That's amazing to know, and that's why some people can get through the hardest things in the world and come out like a hero on the other side, and other people get destroyed by the most simple things. And I asked my friend who's a psychologist in London, in Manchester, sorry, before I told him this, I said to him, you know, there's people who go through hard stuff, they do it good. There's people who go through easy stuff, they get screwed up. And I said, what, you know, he says, yeah, for sure, of course. So what's the difference? So he thought about it. It's like, you know, it's like external things, like, you know, their family and he just said basically what we said there is the idea of the child not feeling alone. And that's just, I just thought that was worth giving a quick share for. Okay, that was it. We should be zeicha to ourselves not feel alone, and to help everybody that we come in contact with also feel that they have someone there for them, being us as well, to Shem. Okay. So